that the prosecutor's recommendation would be a good benefit for my client. This is I think the best way to put it, it is a tumultuous situation between my client and the mother of his children. He advises that there's been a lot of this back and forth. He hasn't seen the kids since this happened, even though there is a parenting time order that is in place. I know that that is an issue that is currently going through the front of the court process, but he's going to have to be able to have some communication with Ms. Swartz until the children are at the age of majority. And I think that the ability for him to access the resources through an anger management and a probation would be beneficial. I know that through his employment at Fiber Converters, he's talked about some of the services that are available and meeting with a counselor. And I know that I don't think anything is set in stone yet, but that is something that he's working towards. So I think he is taking this really seriously, and I think he would benefit from that probation. My client doesn't have any type of criminal history. That's
you didn't get a chance to see that victim impact statement. I got it. I don't know when I saw it, maybe 9:30 or so when I came in on a break. But you can review it there, and the complainant is here. Ms. Davis has joined us now. Ms. Davis, we started with Jalen's, and then we'll go to Darren's. I laid several letters of recommendation that were handed to me about 2 seconds ago on behalf of Darren Hodges. This is Jalen's. As I indicated, the plea was to domestic violence with prosecutors, no objection to a deferral. I think I mentioned this at the time of the plea. In a domestic violence case, I can't do a deferral unless the prosecutor accepts it. In a drug case.
This is a key legal hurdle viewers often miss. In many jurisdictions, domestic violence deferrals are a privileged plea deal. If the prosecutor doesn't sign off, the judge's hands are legally tied, regardless of how much the defendant has improved.
I can, in some other cases I can, whether the prosecutor agrees or not. But in a domestic violence case, I can only do it if the prosecutor concurs. And for the most part, they do, because they know what it entails. It entails a probation and a domestic violence treatment class, and no drugs and no alcohol and no assaultive behavior. Your father went through one of these when he was young, and he successfully completed it. So the charge becomes at that point non-public. You don't have much of a record. You had some sort of a false pretense a few years ago.
That are involved and right in the mix, and children that are there at a ball field, and other parents and grandparents and people. It certainly elevates the factors where you want to make sure that there's some sort of punishment and that this doesn't happen again. Both the women are here, and would you like to speak, either of you?
Like reading the statement?
If you'd like to.
I'll read mine.
Okay. This has been very difficult for them. It's been very difficult on the kids, I'm sure, as Your Honor is aware from the statements that were sent in. And certainly, the letters on behalf of Mr. Hodges, Darren Hodges specifically, stating that he's a good friend, he's a good person. The choices that were made on this day were terrible, and it's something that our goal is to rehabilitate the relationship between the children and their grandparent and father, and the co-parenting relationship, and that's where the probation part of this is going to be key. After meeting with the victims, I'm not certain that this is going to, quote unquote.
So we've seen this over the years, and I'm sure everybody was there, didn't like it. All right, good morning. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Carly Danielle Swartz Friesen.
All right, and you're the mother of the children involved here?
Yeah, stepmom.
Stepmom?
Yep.
All right, so you're not their mother, you're their mother's wife?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is for Jalen. Victim's personal reaction. I am scared to go to bed at night. My anxiety is so high. I don't ever feel safe. I'm always checking my doors to make sure they are locked. I am so worried for myself and my children, and I'm very traumatized by all of this. Jalen threw rocks at my head and back. I had a headache for a few days. And then says victim's property loss. I lost time coaching my boys' baseball game as I'm banned from all Centerville parks. My children lost time playing in baseball, softball, and I'm not sure what I wrote there. So it can show him the seriousness of his actions. And I have one for Darren. Do you want me to read that one now, or do you want me to wait?
Yes. No, you can go ahead. You're not the named complainant in the charges that they pled to. You may have been one of the charges, but I believe the charges,
Yeah, she was one of the charges.
which one?
Darren Harges choked me and
All
threw
right,
me
well,
to the
just a
ground.
minute. Let me go to Darren's thing.
Count 2, Your Honor. It's the domestic violence allegation.
It's Jan. Now, I got a lengthy one. No, that's not.
Crime in my head. It terrifies me daily. My children are having night terrors. My daughter has been sleeping in my wife and I room since this crime happened because she is so scared. I am so scared that I'm constantly looking my.
Restitution isn't just about the money. For the court, documenting specific property loss like a broken phone or wasted sports fees is a way to hold the defendant accountable for the total fallout of their outburst.
Locking my doors during the middle of the day. My body is strained from the assault and adrenaline. I also got a cut on my right elbow and a scraped and bruised knee. I'm having discomfort in my hip on my right side after being thrown to the ground. And then property loss. My phone was damaged after I got thrown to the ground. The value of my phone is about $529.99. I lost my coaching position and the ability to attend my children's baseball and softball games. I have lost $273 that I have invested in my children's sport. And then yeah, the total loss, I just said $273 is for Little League and $529.99 for the damage of my phone. And then I believe the sentence should have the same impact as the impact on myself and my family. To whom it may concern, on May 3rd, 2025, I was assaulted by my ex-boyfriend at Adams Park, Centerville, Michigan. Jalen Hodges is the father of my 3 children, Jaden Swartz, 8, Cameron Swartz, 8, Kylie Swartz, 6. Our daughter Kylie was being held in her father's arms as I was attacked by him. I was at Adams Park at 10:30 a.m. where my twins boys were playing a game. I dropped my wife Carly Friesen off because she was a voluntary assistant coach for the boys team and to drop off the boys baseball equipment. I approached Jalen, who was standing by the dugout, asking him where Kylie was because I offered to Jalen that I would take her to her game, which was being held at Wheaton Swanwick Park, Centerville, Michigan. Jalen told me she was already at her field. I asked who took her and he told me it was none of my business. I left Adams Park and headed to Wheaton Swanwick Park, 1.2 miles away from Adams Park. I arrived at Kylie's game with her equipment. I saw Darren Hodges sitting in a camp chair watching Kylie warm up for her game. I did not talk to Darren the entirety of Kylie's game. After her game ended, Darren went to take Kylie to his truck. I was walking beside them calmly. We were splitting off to go to our own vehicles when Kylie told me she wanted me to take her to her brother's game because she wanted to watch them play. Darren persisted on trying to grab Kylie and telling her they were going to pick up Darren's wife from work. Kylie became uncomfortable and said she did not want to go with Darren, and she grabbed my hand and said she wanted to go in the car. Jalen looked visibly upset. I turned my car off as Jalen sped walked up to me. I got out of my car and turned to open my left passenger door to unbuckle Kylie. As I tried reaching for her car seat, Jalen started yelling and screaming at me to give him his kid. I tried to ask him to lower his voice and to calm down, and I was about to get her out of the car. Jalen continued to yell regarding my request, so I closed the car door so Kylie would not hear her dad yelling at me. I continued to ask him to please stop yelling and cussing. He refused. At this time, Darren walked around the front of my car with his phone up recording. As Darren arrived, Jalen seemed to be more agitated and angry. Darren started to join in with Jalen and began arguing and fighting with myself and Carly. The agreement gets more and more heated, and Jalen forced himself into my car, and that's when Kylie started screaming with terror. I then began pulling on Jalen's shirt, yelling and begging him to stop because he was scaring Kylie and hurting her. Jalen yanked and pulled at her. Kylie was in a 5-point harness. Darren then grabs me and puts his hands around my throat, slamming me against the side of my car, squeezing my throat so I could not breathe. As Jalen was exiting my car with Kylie, who was still screaming in terror, in front of my vehicle were people from the park and parents from the baseball game started gathering towards us. Cops were called and on their way. All three of mine and Jalen's kids have been intense nightmares about their dad. Kylie is scared of the dark now and has to sleep in my room to feel safe. Kylie was waking up all hours of the night having nightmares for weeks. Luckily, the boys did not witness Jalen's attack nor Darren's attack on myself, but they saw arguing, me crying in fear for my daughter, their sister begging for her mom. Kylie stated, "I just want to give mommy a hug." The boys saw all the parents surrounding their dad and Darren. The boys ended up coming over to me after their game was shut down. They were concerned for their moms and their sister. The boys saw their dad get put in handcuffs, as did Kylie, who was released to come to me as Jalen was being cuffed. Kylie ran to me screaming and crying into my arms across the field. Cameron has had a real...
The victim is pointing out a generational pattern here. Courts take this seriously because it suggests that without heavy intervention, the cycle of violence will likely repeat with the children currently watching from the sidelines.
Recurring nightmare almost every night since the incident. I have experienced high anxiety, deep depression, and uneasiness. Any sound or thud makes me jump. I wake up startled and scared that Jalen will break into my home. This has affected my whole family and still does. All three kids are in therapy to help them cope with the incident. This is a horrible event, should never have happened. We can say that this was just anger. I feared that as the time went on, Jalen's aggression and lack of control would worsen, and I believe it has. I believe if this case is not handled correctly, Jalen will be heading down a very dark, aggressive, immature road, just like his father has. Jalen and Darren Hodges should both be convicted with a serious sentence. Hurting a woman and a child should not be brushed off. This is a very serious offense, and it has a huge effect on the physical and mental health of the victims.
Thank you. All right, then I'm gonna do Jalen's sentence, then we're gonna go to Darren's. One thing I wasn't completely clear on, the parties were never married. They had 3 children together. The mother is married now, but she was not married to Jalen. Is there a custody and visitation order in place
Yes, sir.
through the court here in Centerville?
Yes.
And that particular day was your parenting time
Yes, sir.
and decisions about what happens to the kids. Nobody will give an inch She wanted to ride with her grandma to where her dad was. And you're like, no, we have parenting time. So you can't ride with your grandma. Grandma won't give an inch. Stop.
It's the mom.
Yeah, mom
Yeah.
Mom.
Yeah, there.
won't give an inch. I want to take my baby daughter to where her dad is. You're not supposed to be in contact with your grandpa. Apparently that's not in the order. So everybody's hard-headed and it turns into this ugly fiasco in front of everybody at the baseball game. And it's embarrassing. Now, you haven't seen your kids since May. Ms. Davis hit this point, so did Mr. George. At some point, we gotta have at least some situation where you guys can deal with each other because you're stuck with each other until these kids reach the age of majority. Now, I was told Children's Protective Services was called. Did anything come of that?
CPS has been at our place, yeah.
It's an ongoing investigation.
Excuse me, or pets, they're children. And this was terrible for the children. Your granddaughter's getting yanked out of a child seat. The boys said this looked like WWE. They're embarrassed. And now you got no visitation, and as the time passes, you'll just grow farther apart. Their preference, I suppose, would be you would just disappear. Do you not have contact with your children and not be a part of their life? It sounds like things were not the greatest while you were together, but you were together long enough to have 3 children and you're stuck with each other. So the prosecutors recommend, and this was also a no contest plea. So when you plead no contest, you don't admit what happened, but you don't deny it. So you allow or accept that a conviction will enter. So the facts are the facts that we use for the plea, which is the bond information report, sorts, reason. And we got a number of letters on behalf of Mr. Hodges, one from Pastor Jerry Solis of Destiny Church and some other letters from people that he worked with. And character references. One thing is I probably know Mr. Hodges better than the character references. When he was young, he was a frequent visitor here at the courthouse. He has at least 4 domestic violence charges in his past. Couple of malicious destruction.
Here is where the defense's good guy narrative completely falls apart. The judge reveals a hidden history of 4 prior domestic violence charges, proving this wasn't an isolated incident, but a deeply ingrained behavioral pattern.
Property charges and some other assorted things I won't get into, which are old. Pastor Solis told me that, and in the letter, he got connected with the Destiny Church about a dozen years ago or so. And I don't know that there's anything newer than that. So these people know him in the last 12.
Yeah, and waterproofing out of Middlebury.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mecrio, you know your client and this circumstance. Again, it was, nobody was willing to budge. It sounds innocuous enough. He's there with his granddaughter watching her game. She lives at his house. He's grandpa. Then everything went haywire. What would you like me to know?
Judge, I think you have a good grasp of everything that went on, and I think the fact that everybody was banned indicates that this was not an out and out attack or some sort of assault where somebody was totally victimized and run over with some sort of a criminal activity and had to be helped. This was a argument, this was yelling, this was screaming on both parties' ends, this was physical contact by both parties. But my client realizes what he did was inappropriate. And I think that's why he sought out the Pastor Solis, who is present in the courtroom here, showing his support, which I think is important with a couple of women. He should not have touched anybody. He should not have put his hands on anybody. He realizes that. He's embarrassed as to how the community may have observed him that day and observed everybody that was involved in this case that day. I don't think it spoke very well for the way he wants his family portrayed. And I think that's why, Your Honor, he continues to work hard. He continues to seek employment. He now is in counseling. He's working with his pastor. He is stepping back, waiting to see what the family court does. It's my understanding the parties have a hearing in family court the 15th. So maybe something will happen in the next week or so that'll get the parenting time back on track and get everybody involved in a situation where they can communicate with each other without really upsetting anyone, realizing that the communication is for the children only and not for them. My client is prepared to do whatever the court wishes. I think incarceration at this point, Your Honor, would be unjust. Something will work out where he'll be able to continue his relationship with his grandchildren. But other than that, Your Honor, if the court feels probation is necessary, we would ask the court to consider probation and defer or not impose any jail term, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
I was just confirming the kids are in counseling and will remain in counseling. And, having a background in family law and criminal law, they intertwine. And I don't think that people recognize how damaging their behavior can be to young kids, from babies all the way through teenagers. The way that these parties interact with each other historically seemed to be strained. And then it went from strained to really bad and assaultive. I disagree with Attorney Macbeo's characterization of the kind of mutual combat type that he described. From what I understand from the victims and from viewing the video, this was aggressive behavior from the defendants toward the victims. And the reports that Darren Hodges was, running through stop signs and tailgating, and it just both defendants to get involved with the counseling, meet with the kids' counselors, so that they can rehabilitate this relationship and then get to the point where they don't have this type of animosity. Because whether you say something or not, if you're all in the same area and there's tension, the kids can feel it, and it's not fair to them. Thank you.
We got birthday parties, school pageants, graduation, prom, all kinds of things these parents are going to have to weather together. And you're right on the money.
The judge is teaching a quick lesson on civil make-whole logic. In court, you're entitled to the current value of the used item, not the price of a brand new upgrade, regardless of how it was broken.
The kids can feel it.
Judge, just as to the restitution, if the court's going to order, we'd just like more information as to what was damaged, an estimate as to what it would cost to repair the phone, that sort of thing.
Yeah, where did that, if I'm going to do a probation, I can reserve on the restitution, but we'd like some.
She turned in, did you turn in a copy to victim rights?
Yeah, I believe so.
Receipt?
Let me look.
Yeah, receipts, we have receipts, all of that, yeah.
I don't think I have it.
Should be attached to our paperwork there.
Let's take a look. I didn't scroll down far enough. And here's a bunch of those. I had looked.
What type of phone?
It's the iPhone 13. It's a very old phone. So really the cost of a new one is about $529.99. It's about $600.
All right, but if you had a car that was broken, you don't get a new car.
No.
So there's a valuation question.
I will say that like the newer model of iPhones are like $1,700. So I mean, as far as
so I don't want to shoot from the hip. We'll get more information about it. All right, you had a suggestion, Ms. Davis, that maybe he could use a little tune-up on anger management, and I think maybe that isn't a bad plan. I'm gonna give 12 months probation, which you could complete at the end of 6. 13 days credit 3. Of those 13 days, 10 are deferred. So you're not gonna do any more jail time if you do what I ask you to do. I'm sorry that you lost your job over this, because I know people that work there that thought you did a good job. Same thing, the fine is 0. There's a $75 crime victim.
Your Honor, how would you like to receive? I just checked and the only thing I have is the receipts from the kids' baseball fees. So I believe it's potentially an email to our victim advocate. Do you want her to forward that to the?
Yeah, whatever.
probation department?
Something. Did you purchase a new iPhone?
Well, like I'm paying it off, like
That
my
one that's
service,
broken
yeah.
still? Okay, so you're still paying off the one that is broken and it's not usable?
I can use it, but it's got like a big crack all the way through it, and then it has those glasses peeling out of it, like out of the bottom part of it. So I mean, it's usable, but it's
All right, well,
it's getting like my screen and glass shatters are coming out of it. So I mean,
all right, we're gonna have to figure out some figure. I'll order something as a partial restitution for that. In Darren's case, he's not a parent, he's a grandparent. So I would say the same thing, comply with all custody and visitation orders. But you're probably not gonna be part of the order unless you are. I think the little tune-up on anger management could be beneficial. This is scary for your kids, and you guys are gonna have to suck it up and deal with each other as best you can. All right, you're both on probation, no drugs, no alcohol, no assaultive behavior, comply with CPS and parenting time orders, and we'll make a further ruling on the restitution. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.